Welcome, you guys. Thanks for joining me here tonight. I think Barry's going to be joining us, or she may be doing yard work, which we can hear on the porch. So I'm going to start tonight with a guided meditation. So I'm going to use this lovely stillness that's here right now, even with dogs and cars and lawn furniture and hoses and everything that's happening. There's still a very beautiful stillness available for us. What I like to do is just carry you into the place of very still heart. And so I'm going to guide you through maybe 20 minutes or so. And from there I'll talk for a little bit, and then we can talk together. So my invitation is just to close your eyes, relax your body. If the chair is not as comfortable as you would like, there is more couch sitting. However, whatever's most comfortable for your body, just welcome that. And you can take a moment to scan through and just give permission to relax any habitual tension, maybe necks or jaws or backs or hips. Just fully allowing yourself to relax here. When you're here, you're already perfect. We're just going to unwind any story that you might think that that's not true. So we'll start at the place where we end, which is relaxed, home. So from this place, what I'm going to first get us to do is unwind the body just a little bit. We're going to loosen our form. My intention when I do this is to bring the awareness off of the thought stream and into the body. So most of the day, maybe most of the week, we've been centering inside of a thought stream. So all thinking thoughts, story. That's where we've been orienting ourselves. So I'm going to guide us back into the body, a little more present place. And it takes a little while. The habit and the momentum to be up in the thought stream is strong. So it might take you 10 or 15 minutes to really bring yourself into the body as we're working. And just know that's okay. It's totally fine. When thought streams are juicy and pull you back up into some idea, story, emotion, we can just bring ourselves, as soon as we notice it, back into the awareness of the body. So let's just do a little practice. It just feels good. It relaxes us. But the biggest intention is a practice to bring our awareness into the body. So let's start at our feet. Just use your inner eye for a moment and see if you can feel an energetic, tingly sensation emanating. All the neurons firing these electric synapses through the feet. Use your inner eye and get a sense of that sensation. So now take a moment just to wiggle your toes. Give your feet a bit of a contraction and then a softening. Contract again and soften. When we contract really tight, we can catch habitual tension and then we can soften it out. Let's move our inner eye into the sensations through the shin and the calves. Just see if you can feel the bone, feel the muscle. When we bring our awareness into the sensations of the body innately relaxes. It's not our intention necessarily, except maybe tonight it should be. So let's have an intention of softening. Softening through those thick, fat calf muscles and softening those shin muscles, just the inner eye and the invitation. Bring your awareness into your knees now. Just notice the sensation. Hello, knees. You may have gone the whole day without noticing that. Let's bring our awareness into our legs, the upper legs. So feeling that big hamstring muscle at the back and the quads, the big thigh muscles. Just being aware of the bone and muscle. Just really inviting ourselves to be aware of the body. Let's come into our torso now. Let's use our spine, and what we'll do is we'll follow our spine. You're going to be aware of the sensations starting at the tailbone. See if you can bring your inner eye to the sensations, your awareness. As much of your awareness as possible to captivate, be captivated by these sensations. Usually we're captivated by thoughts and stories. And those thoughts and stories can only ever talk about a past or a future. And when we bring our awareness into the sensations of the body, we bring our awareness into this present moment. Thoughts cannot land in the present, but sensation can. So we're just getting used to grounding our awareness into the present moment by way of being aware of our bodies right now. Just one vertebrae at a time now, begin to move up the spine in your own space. Let's bring that intention to soften. If you come across any habitual tension in a certain area, just an intention to soften. Releasing these habitual muscle identity. That's what tension is. It's a story held in a muscle. We're just going to relax that. Soften up the form. Vertebrae by vertebrae. Really allowing your awareness to be captured by the sensations in the body. As much of your awareness as possible. And if some kind of thought draws you back up into the mind stream, because they're juicy and they're seductive, and they're innate in their thoughts is the idea that they're very important and you must quickly remember this. Don't be duped by that seduction, but it's fine if it happens. And the moment that you're aware of it, just bring your attention back into the body. No problem. No judgment, no condemnation. We're just allowing ourselves to loosen the momentum, bring our awareness into the sensations of the body, allowing our awareness to be captivated by the present moment. One vertebrae at a time. Moving up the spine. Bringing as much of your awareness as possible, feeling the inner energy of the body, noticing your body tonight. Oh yes, here's my spine. I may have gone the entire day without noticing my spine. But here it is, being back for you. Without you even having to do it. Maybe not even noticing it. And still the spine holding you up. Passing information down the spinal column. One vertebrae at a time, in your own time. Allowing your awareness to be captivated by the sensations. No matter where you are right now in your spine, hopefully we can just, if there's more of the spine that you've missed, just send a little intention that it can all soften. You're just welcome to soften that spine. Let's bring our awareness now to our breath. Noticing the breath. If you have some kind of a practice that puts effort or focus on the breath, just surrender that practice right now and just effortlessly notice the breathing body. Be aware of all the sensations as your body breathes without getting all involved. Just notice the body breathing. Perhaps you can notice in this moment it's an involuntary movement. It's just happening. It doesn't take you remembering to breathe in order to breathe. It's not on your to-do list for the day. There's no doing required. When we're bringing our awareness into the sensations of the breath, we can notice this miraculous movement automatically happening. There's oxygen coming in through the lungs, flowing. There's fluids flowing in your body. There's blood flowing. Cells are being rejuvenated. Muscle tissue is dissolving and rebuilding. Bones are being nourished and strengthened. There's a whole system, a whole community moving here, bringing this nourishing life to your body. It's a beautiful moment to recognize and just remember together. It doesn't take you doing something. It's naturally happening here. The breathing can be effortless. Just taking this moment to be aware of it. Let's expand our awareness to include the air touching the surface of our skin. Just noticing God's breath. Noticing this, all this oxygen we're breathing into our lungs, coming in, touching our skin, caressing us. Beautiful pointer to remember we're not doing that either. There's no doing required. We're just aware. We can bring our awareness to the sensation. Perhaps we haven't noticed this sensation for days. This moment includes this air touching our skin just like this. It's beautiful to bring our awareness here to this moment to notice it. That's exactly what's going on here. See if you can include the awareness of just feeling the furniture where it's supporting your body. Where your body is resting here, being supported by this furniture. Allowing yourself to be aware of that sensation. Noticing again, just the support is happening. You don't have to do something. Support is here. Let's expand our awareness so even with our eyes closed, we can actually take in the dimensions of the room. Awareness itself can feel it without the agency of the mind, filtering, calculating, defining. Just awareness, something very effortless. Again, if any thought story seduces you back into the thought stream, as soon as you're able to notice that, just bring your awareness back to, at this point it's quite good to just bring it back to the breath. And then from the breath, notice the dimensions of the room. Notice that you can feel the air temperature blowing through the doorways, or you can even almost notice the air temperature just the other side of the windows. We can also bring our awareness to all the sounds that are moving, all the traffic patterns and the animals and humans moving, and my voice and the sounds in the room. We can just be aware of it without the agency of the mind defining it, categorizing it. We can just simply notice. Just allowing those sounds to be received. Let's bring our awareness back to our breath again. Just noticing the sensations in the breathing body. At this point, your capacity to be aware of sensations is growing. There's probably less juicy thoughts capturing your attention. A little more space to be aware of the sensations in the body. See how effortless you can be with your awareness of your breath. If you can be aware of any doing and relax away from it. Just a curiosity, how effortless can you possibly be and awareness still remains? The awareness of the breath. Any seeking, any looking, any penetrating, any defining, any thinking. You can relax all of that. Any tension in the body. Any images of doing it right. Being right. Getting it right. Relax all that. How effortless can awareness be? Just aware of the breath. Now let's bring our awareness back into the room, noticing the sensations in the room, noticing the sounds. If your eyes are closed, you can feel the dimensions of the space. Feel it. Find that awareness, effortless awareness, to just receive all this information. Let's take a moment together to see if we can be aware of something else that's here. In and amongst all the sounds and the movements, there's something here that's so quiet. It's the quietest thing here. Very quiet in the body and in the room. In and amongst the air and the sounds and the movement, there is something here that is so quiet. Cars and dogs and coffee and other humans, it's still here. Awareness itself can notice it. The habit is to be aware of noise and movement and sensation. It's just a habit. So we can take a moment to see if awareness, that effortless awareness, no agency of the mind required. In the same way that I say, be aware of your breath. And it's a soft kind of listening. See if you can be aware of the most quiet thing here. Just a willingness is required. So strong is the habit to be aware of things that move or make noise. And at first we just need a little willingness. Willingness is also always available and also very effortless. Willingness is here. Starting with a willingness, see if we can just curiously be aware. Something here that is so quiet. Quietest thing here. We just have a habit and a momentum to be aware of things that move and make noise. But in amongst all these sounds and all these forms and all these shapes and thoughts and movements and sensations, there is something here that is so still, so quiet. It's the actual source of all of these things. And awareness itself can perceive it. And awareness might be captivated by noises or sensations, and that's fine. As soon as you notice that, see if you can go and find the most quiet thing here. It's saturating us. It's here the whole time. No matter what the sounds are, no matter what the movements are, no matter what the forms are, there is always something here that is so quiet and so still. Our habit is to miss it because it's the most quiet thing here. It's just a habit. Awareness can be aware of it directly in this moment. Always available in this moment. We can be aware of the most quiet thing here. No matter what sensations in the body, no matter what emotional states, no matter what, this vast, vast, quiet silence is here permeating everything. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your awareness there. In your own time, softly open your eyes. Allow yourself to notice the forms in the room right now, the colors and the shapes, still present here, still taking in this moment, all the ways this moment is showing up. Even with our eyes open, even talking, that vast, still silence permeates us, envelops us, nourishes us. It's so delicious to show up for this moment, It's like, oh yeah. Shadows and colors and light. Other humans. We miss the whole thing in this story, right? I need to get that because they're going to need the past and the future and the past and the future and the past and the future. We missed the whole thing where our whole life is right here. But it's always available to us to come back. Every moment. This is just a seductor. This is just a strong momentum. It's just a habit. But in every moment, this is available. The best way to access it is the sensations of the body. And it's good to know that it takes 15 minutes or so. If we've been spending a day or the whole weekend or the whole week here, watching this, aware of this. I better get shoes because he's got a soccer practice tomorrow. I don't know if they did this. She's supposed to. We better wear the lawn because it's getting a drought. I don't know. Is it really? We can always come here. We can always come here. In every moment. And this is where our life is. Right here. And that awareness is always effortless. The mind will say, oh no, it takes a lot of effort to get present. Oh no, we better wait till we got a quiet moment. We better wait till there's a meditation or a cushion or somebody, you know. But it's good to remember it's effortless. It doesn't matter what's happening. We can always effortlessly come back here. Into the sensations of the body. Into all the forms and all the sounds. And also here, the stillness. The stillness that is always available for us. We can rest in that stillness. That stillness is our nourishment. And it's always here. It's the source of every sound, of every form. When I talk, I tell people I like to talk quantumly. We understand it. It's 2013. People understand quantum. And we know we were taught that this chair appears solid, but it's just an illusion, because if we had a microscope and we could look into it, we'd see all these moving particles, right? We'd see atoms. And smaller and smaller and smaller. But we know that if we break down an atom, it has a nucleus, a little proton. And there's an electron, magnetically attracted to that proton, spinning, spinning, spinning. Everything is made of this. My hand looks solid, but it's made of cells, moving in constant movement. We know this. The space of that electron moving around the proton in its constant orbit is vast. If you compared it to the size of our bodies, it's the entire galaxy is how big the space between the electron and the proton is. There's a lot of spaciousness here. There's a lot of silence here. We're just captivated by the form. But it's quite effortless to be present and build up the habit to be aware of the silence, which is the space between the electron and the proton. In every single form. It's always here. And throughout all the ages of all time, any awakened being, when they wake up, they become aware of that space. And everyone says the same words. The properties of this space is bliss. God is profound well-being. It's Jesus says it, Buddha says it, Lao Tzu says it, Rumi says it. Doesn't matter the culture, doesn't matter the gender, doesn't matter the age, same words. When the form, when the illusion of solidity falls apart, mainly because the mind stops filtering this energy into shapes and forms, captivating us with it. The people who wake up, they drop that filter. And they just see the space moving. And they all say the same thing. It's profound well-being. Eckhart Tolle says it. I say it. Ramana says it. Babaji says it. Papaji says it. Krishnamurti says it. Advaita, Zen, Buddhism, non-dual. I'll say it. Sufis. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing. The source of ourselves is bliss. Nothing here but profound well-being coming into form. And we have the ability, whether the mind blows or not, to perceive it. Because it's always here. And it's just a habit to miss it. It's just a habit to be captivated by form. It's a habit to be captivated by sound and movement. But there's an effortlessness in our awareness. And awareness can perceive the most quiet thing here. If it can perceive noise, it can perceive silence. So it's always here, and it's always available. And it's just a habit. We can take breaks from that habit. Even just here tonight together, we can remind each other. There's a stillness, something so quiet that is nourishing us. And it's so easy for us, it's so habitual to be caught up in the story, right? Oh my God, there's a tsunami coming, we better finish it, and this is, we lose our well-being. It's right here the whole time. I'm not sure what the banker said. Is there much to pay the mortgage? I don't know what's going to happen. That's where we lose it, right? That's where we habitually miss this very constant bliss, peace, profound well-being, oneness, nourishment, quietness, spaciousness, stillness, consciousness. It's here, always here for us. Always here in every moment. It wouldn't be this moment if it wasn't first here. This is the source. The vast space in which an electron and proton move. They come from space first, and then there's movement. Space coming eventually into form. When we're stuck out here in the form place, when we're stuck up here in the story place, we can miss it all. We can miss it all. So that's primarily what I'm here to remind you of tonight. And that you feel that. That you remember that. You're really, really, really okay. It's really, really, really available. In every moment, the peace that you crawl away from mistaken habit. And it's kind of effortless to come back to it. So I think that's all I needed to say. But I am going to invite you all to spend a little time beside me and talk to me about what happens in your life that you forget that. Or where are you stuck? Or what would you... Where's the place? Where's the place for you that you misunderstood, or you don't know, or you're not sure how to get to or get through, so that you can be here all the time? Or just even remember that you're here all the time anyway. Even if you're up here in this story, even if you're gripped in the belief that all this is true, you're still here. You're still really, really, really okay. So tell me about where you have a hard time.
I was just wondering, Karen, if while people are thinking about what they might want to share or ask you, if you would just maybe tell them a little bit about your tools for sanity.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I use a filter. Those of you, some of you may have seen some of my work online and stuff like that. So when I'm talking, when I'm talking to people and I'm working with people, I use this sort of 4 tools as a filter. They're kind of basic quantum laws of how the whole thing is moving here. What they really are is very innate, very available, very effortless qualities, or tools. I call them tools, but they're kind of skills that we all have. At every moment we can access them. And they bring us back to this place of freedom all the time. And we have such a habit to move away from them. It's kind of my job to remind us. So the filter I use of these 4 basic tools is, the first is awareness, which we just did a little meditation on. Just remembering that awareness is always available, even in the most effortless place. Here's awareness for us, and it's an amazing tool, primarily to bring us back to presence, or to notice what's going on. And often the place where we're the most stuck is because there's internal repression, emotional repression, personal repression. That's a lot of our conditioning and our habits as we were raised and as we went through our lives, as we learned how to repress ourselves. So the tool of awareness, to notice what's showing up inside of ourselves, can liberate a lot of that repression, which is the beginning of being free, because repression is the opposite of freedom. The second tool that I talk about is acceptance. And by acceptance, I mean acknowledgement. That's all. Acknowledgement. I mean a kind of very basic welcome. I don't mean massively surrender and accept your burden or something. It's a tricky word, but the root of the word, or the real word, is a kind of an innate welcome. Acceptance is always available. It's very, very effortless for us. And how it arrives for us is that because anything that shows up inside of you is primarily where I point to, but anything, it's already accepted by existence. It's like A-okay with God. That's how come it's here. And so we just kind of align with this innate acceptance that's already here. It's already here. So if we feel tired, or if we feel angry, or if we feel jealous, we have an external effort that decides if that sensation is okay or not. And we repress it, or we tweak it, or we move it. And my work is about pointing out this effort. The more we are in line with our effortlessness, the more we're in line with God, with life. And how you know is because it's effortless. If it creates effort, there's a doing. And effort is contortion away from just alignment. just perfect alignment. So basically there's this vast space, this vast spaciousness, and space has movement, it moves. And the quality, what that movement actually is love. What we know as love, is vast space moving, that's love. And love moves. Love has a movement. And movement comes into form. First energy, and then energy comes into form. Love creates everything that we have. Every form you ever see is sourced from a stillness that moves, becoming love, that becomes form. And when that form is very, very aligned with the love and the source, it feels effortless. And the further away we get from that, the more contorted it gets, the more effort is involved, even to the point of the most extreme effort, which we call pain. Pain feels like pain because of the effort involved. So contorted, so distant from its effortless place. I also talk about finding alignment and what I call delicious yes. I use the word delicious because it's a very easy quality to recognize as effortlessness. Something usually feels delicious because it's pretty effortless. It's pretty easy. Pretty. There's a lot of momentum towards delicious things. It's easy to get there. So, acceptance is that lining up with what's already been accepted with existence. And we can be aware of this repression activity and this judging activity and this qualifying activity, and there's all this efforting activity to things that arise inside of us, creating this effort, taking us quite far away from what is innate and natural for us. The third thing I talk about is what I call alchemy or healing. It's taking that effort and bringing it back to the effortlessness. And we can do that. Every one of us can do that, or it's innate inside of us. We are, in fact, everything about us is first sourced from this effortlessness. Everything that arises inside of us or moves inside of us is that effortlessness. And it can get so contorted out there and so painful that we can actually, but we have the ability always to bring it back in alignment. And the fourth filter I use is what I call yes, standing in your yes. It's an alignment, which is that delicious yes, guiding your life and living your life inside of a yes. So these are tools. Read the book, buy the book. I go into a lot of detail. They're innate, they're effortless with us. It feels, right now I'm noticing the amount of effort it's taking to explain these tools to you. So obviously they're totally not necessary in this moment. Instead, what's necessary in this moment is just to remind you that you're peace already. You don't have to go find it. There's an awareness here that's effortless, and you can just be with it. Kind of like, they tell that Zen koan that there's a diamond in your pocket all the time, and you're out here looking for it, but it's in your pocket all the time, kind of thing. It's a bit like that. We're saturated in a stillness that's always here and always available. And it's just a matter of remembering how effortless it is to come back to the present moment where our life is. Yeah. If anybody would like to say anything, please do so. And we can just sit here together. There's no need for it. You can just feel that. Feel that stillness together. Can you feel it? Can you notice it?
It's delicious.
It's delicious. I agree, it's delicious. Yeah. Yeah. It's okay if you don't feel it. But you can tell me if you don't feel that. It's fine. Or if you feel that place, you can just even recognize peripherally that softness. Just know it's here for you all the time. Any moment. There's never a place that it isn't.
It could just be that you're feeling relaxed and peaceful in your body and your mind is quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
and there's
great.
a feeling of well-being from that.
There can be that, yeah. Just coming off of the mind stream. Because it never stops. It's cars on the highway constantly going, right? It's impossible to stop the mind, but we can bring our awareness off of it in such a way that we don't even notice it, which is what we call the quiet mind. It'll take it just a second and we pop back up and there it's all going as if we were never away. But we're just moving our awareness off of it. It's like leaving the room, So this room is carrying on with its monkey business and we're over there. So bringing our awareness into the body. And there can be this relaxed, peaceful sensation. It's profoundly relaxing to get the hell out of the mind stream. It's immediately better there.
It's very grounding.
It is, isn't it?
For me, it's really grounding.
Yeah.
It's like when you tap into the source of all being, it's a good place to be rooted in.
That's a good place to be rooted in.
Yeah.
That's very grounding. I agree. That's a beautiful, beautiful articulation of it. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing this here in this way. It is. It's a good reminder. Even, yeah.
The thoughts have you believing that you have to be involved with them to live your life. Right? You know that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like if I didn't think, how the hell could I get the laundry done? And that's a seduction of thinking. It's not really true.
Because we can get the laundry done while we thinking about all these other things and we haven't thought about the laundry.
Yes, exactly. Turns out we got the laundry done without even thinking about it anyway. Exactly. We were solving relationship problems for our neighbors the whole time. We were battling the fence line. We were thinking about, GMO papayas the whole time, Exactly. And yet the laundry happened. Yes, that's beautiful.
Or sometimes we don't remember how it got done.
Yeah. Sometimes we do that. We do that a lot with driving, right? Where you suddenly realize you're home and you're not quite sure how you got there. Because you were very captivated up here. But driving happened. You got home.
I think the thing that's seductive about thinking is we identify with it. And that's where we lose ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what takes us away, is the identification with any thought or its forms. That's what pulls us out, and that's what gets us spinning like. And when we're identifying, or when we're resting or dwelling in the center, in the source, in the stillness, the bliss or the ananda or leading to ecstasy for some and then leading to annihilation, which is even more blissful. That's so spacious. When we can become that, it's awesome to disappear to ourselves. I find it fascinating.
Is that your direct experience?
It's mine, and I do it frequently.
Yeah, when you dissolve into it.
Yeah.
What feels like annihilation to you.
Well, I dissolve, I disappear.
You disappear into that stillness.
Disappear to life. lose my form, then I don't even think about it anymore. Just
And can you still do the laundry? And
in those deep states, I would say there are moments set aside for that.
mm-hmm.
You could call it contemplation, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also be on a different level of contemplation, doing the laundry or the garden or something.
Mm-hmm.
But in those levels, we're not able to function because the thinking or the cognitive mind can't operate in those realms.
Or so your story goes. Or so the teaching goes.
Yeah.
Or so your experience has been.
So my experience has been.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I too know a place where you can pop out completely and just not be form at all. There's some kind of Sanskrit word that describes it. Kanada or something like that. I don't know what it is. I know that place as well. And I don't think it can be a delicious vacation and it can be very healing. But to actually live your life here in the present doesn't require this kind of pop out. And quite often the mind can separate. If I'm being still, it's a required different contemplation. And we kind of create these stories that we can't pay the bills, deal with the mortgage in this present peace. But we can. We can. It's available to us. The thing I work on a lot is I talk about, I'm not so all about enlightenment. I had a massive spontaneous enlightenment. I would not define it as bliss and beautiful. The annihilation is hellacious. It can be a profoundly painful death. And it can be really effortless and easy. You just don't know which one you're going to be. And if your truth is to wake up, awesome. But it's not a precursor for freedom. We can be free in any moment, awake or not. Freedom is always available to us. We are this source in every moment. There's no difference between somebody who's awake and somebody who's not. Structurally, cellularly, it's just a different place of identification. And you don't have to be in that place. I know the sales line is that you have to be awake to be free, which is great if what you're going for is enlightenment. That's a great pointer. What I teach is freedom. Freedom in every moment, which is available to you, which is what I talk about these 4 tools are for. Awareness is always effortlessly available. Acceptance is always effortlessly available. Healing is always available. It doesn't matter if you're awake or not. And alignment, like doing what's delicious for us in every moment, is always available. And they're innate inside of us, awake or not. An awake person's path to freedom, to embody freedom. There's a lot of awake people that never embodied freedom, which is fine. We all know people who woke up, and then we hear about these like crazy, like power issues in the Sangha, or these weird sexual power politics. This isn't freedom. This is dysfunction. Emanating from clarity, like an awake human, but it's not free. It's not an embodied freedom. Awakening itself doesn't guarantee it. It just changes the identity. So it's like I'm no longer this body, I'm no longer this form. I'm this vast one space. So I'm not going to suffer no matter what happens to the form, because I'm not that really available for the form. So the form just keeps doing its whatever dysfunctional patterns that it did, and its cultural patterns that it did, but there's no suffering. And we all know this, and we've heard of this. We also may know humans. My first boyfriend was that way, was free. He was a free person without an awakening. No enlightenment necessary. He was just free. He was absolutely aligned with the truth of his being. He knew what a yes was and what a no was for him. And he did the yes. We know people like this. We can feel people like this. There's an energy of they're just free. They're just free people. And that's always available to us. And awake or not, my path to freedom means every moment of mostly hanging out in awareness versus the mind. It's way more effortless, way more easy. When I'm here, as this present awareness, I'm wildly available to what's here. If I'm hanging out in the mind stream, I'm very unavailable. I can't really attend to very much because I'm so captivated by something. When I come into that awareness, which is effortless for all of us. So that's where I primarily hang out. Same path. My job is to accept what arises. When I'm tired, I let tired be here. When I'm hungry, I let hungry be here. Same for you. When there is something contorted and in pain, which for me usually looks like repressed emotion in the body, which is the same for most of us, my job is to bring this acceptance and this awareness. I also bring a loving nourishment energy. Every one of us we love to love. It's very effortless to love. The mind can tell a story that it's a lot of effort. It's a pain in the ass to love. But it's effortless in us to love. We very naturally love because we're made of love. It's because all the forms of our body have come from love. And love itself is the most effortless form in the universe. It's the primary. There's vast stillness and then there's love. Vast stillness is formlessness. So the first form that comes is love. And it's so effortless. And all things in nature move to the most effortless rhythm. So something that's entirely contorted, as soon as it comes alongside of a more effortless path, it unwinds towards the most effortless. Like a river, like an ocean. You'll see the currents. They move to more... A current is basically water following a more effortless rhythm. If you're looking at a current of a river heading off, right? The effortless flow area. All things in nature move that way. So these contorted energy patterns are pain in our body. So plugging out, little places of pain and strife that's contorted. If we bring intentionally our love itself is effortless. And we touch contorted energy with effortless energy, it unwinds. Children know this is why they ask for a hug when they get a boo-boo. It makes you feel better. It helps. So does the awareness. So for me, my path is the same as everybody's path in terms of healing. And also standing in my yes, doing what is true for me. What is the most effortless thing in every moment. The entire cosmos is lined up for us to do what comes most naturally or comes most effortlessly. So in any moment, there's an efforting thing to do. It feels like a lot of effort right now for me to do the laundry. What I'd rather do is have a nap. Every moment is set up for you to have the more effortless, to have the nap. And it's my job to do that, to be aware of what arises and follow that. Because as soon as I do the more effort, that's the mind controlling the experience and kind of drawing me away from what's already naturally arising and showing up. We have a really insane conditioning called good society, called, being a good, proper social human. And it requires this kind of effort. We don't understand. We compromise, right? We compromise. I really want to take a nap, but my neighbor wanted me to see her prize flowers. And it feels like a lot of effort, but I'm going to go do it. And what we don't, so we compromise. We're constantly compromising this, what's true for us, in order to function, we think, in the conditioning of society. We don't know that every moment consensus is always available. Consensus means I do my yes, you do your yes, and they fit together. They always do. The entire moment is always set up for that. That's the primary movement of every moment. That's how you know it's really delicious for you. Because the moment set it up that way already. For us to move away from it is to leave the alignment of this moment. So my truth is that I need to have a nap. I told my neighbor that I'd meet her for some petunias to see her flowers. But it's better for me to have a nap. When I phone my neighbor to say, turns out I'm not going to be able to make it, I'm sorry, it's going to be a big relief for her. Because she's going to have had a different yes as well. Because if it wasn't yours effortlessly, it wasn't hers. You know how I know? Because there's only one of us here. There's just one. It's all just one. And when you're not captivated by the form, and the story of form that includes time and history and social behavior, when that's not captivated, so as an awakened human, that's not my primary, it takes me a lot to recognize those rhythms. It's primarily, I notice that space. In order for, so I know there's just one of us here. So if it's true for you, it's true for me. Because there's only one of us here. The mind can't see that. Because it can never see it. It wasn't built for that kind of tool. So it compromises to try to make something else fit in the story of this thing. It doesn't take very many times of following the more effortless yes to start to notice that it feels really good and everything lined up really harmoniously. It's sort of like, I didn't get to watering the flowers today. It just felt like a pain in the ass, so I never did it, and then it suddenly rained. You know? Isn't that a good thing? Things like that will happen. You know, God, I canceled on my neighbor. I felt really bad, but I phoned her and I said I couldn't do the petunias, and it turns out she had a really sore hip. And she just needed to be on the couch, and so she was really grateful. And that actually gave me time, because when I laid down to have a nap, whatever, it turns out I was still home because the mailman had needed my signature. I don't know, whatever. Like, you'll see there's this, as soon as the doer who's trying to do life steps back, life is doing you. And how life does you, you know how to get there because it's the effortless place in every moment. It's all just kind of lining up because there's really just one of us here. When we're captivated, so the difference between someone who's awake, they're just not captivated, and someone who's not awake is captivated. Same one, same God. Just having different experiences is all. And that same one is orchestrating this harmonious movement. But we have this thing called free will. I have to do the garden. I have to make this. I have to mother these children, and I have to pay these bills, and I have to deal with this mortgage, and it's all up to me. Well, we kind of muck up the whole system with this overgrowth. Too fascinated in the story.
So if you stay in the effortlessness of anything you do, do you just wait for the right timing? You just wait, like if you have your taxes to do or whatever, you just wait.
So it feels really yummy to do your taxes. They'll show up, and it will. Yeah, it always will. They're in awareness, you'll be aware. It's not like you're repressing the fact that you have to do taxes, because that's not effortless. You know, like, the taxes are there. You know they have to be done. You've probably done this in your life. You have a to-do list, and there's 20 things on the to-do list, and you kind of look for the flow. well, if I get in a car, it's easy to get to the bank, then it's better to get to the grocery store, and then I'll see if I can get over to Sam's house, you know. I know these things have to be done. At the end of the day, maybe you got some of them done or maybe you didn't. Maybe by the time you stopped at Sam's house, there was a pie in the oven that just came out, and, you know, you needed to sit, and it turns out you didn't pay the bill, you know, like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was okay. So it's not that we repress that we need to do something. We know we need to do the taxes. We just don't do it if it feels like effort.
Mm.
We don't do the dishes if it feels like effort. We don't weed the lawn if it feels like effort. It's kind of courageous. It's pretty radical. Yeah. But you don't have to do it too many times for it to be not courageous, for it to be like awesome. For it to be like, oh man, it turns out it does work. Turns out this is way better. Turns out I did my entire taxes in 15 minutes. When it was effort and on a to-do list, it usually takes me 3 weeks. When I wait for the time and it's effortless, it's just 15 minutes. When life is doing it, and how I'll know is I feel like doing the taxes. Sometimes you just feel like cleaning the house. Sometimes you just feel like dusting. Sometimes you haven't even noticed, but you've done the laundry. It takes a second. When I first woke up, then I started, and this is how it hurt to live a different, like I could feel so dramatically the effort. So I couldn't do it. I had to do the effortlessness. It was so, I would sometimes feel like, oh my God, I didn't do a thing today. I spent the entire day on the couch. Oh my God. And then I'd be like, but you did do the dishes, and you did make the pie, and you did pick Gage up from school, and you got the banking done, and you cleaned upstairs, and you changed the sheets, and you paid those bills. But it was so effortless. At the end of the day, I felt like I did nothing. Like it felt like I did nothing but sit around all day long. And it took this kind of reflecting to be like, no, actually, turns out something happened, you know? Seems like that's enough. But often I kept having that feeling like, oh my God, I just didn't do a thing today. Gosh.
I've learned that if you worry about something or some things, and you just keep doing that, but in the meantime, what you were worrying about was solved without your awareness.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Do you all know that? Like where it's like you were worried so much about something and somehow life just took care of it for you? Do you know that sensation?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can really trust that everything is like that. Even I still do it. I'm like, oh my gosh, here's something that needs to be solved. Although, you know, Wendy's been living with me for about 10 days because she's been hosting me as we travel around. And often it'll be like, oh, I have, like now something will show up, right, to do the taxes. And somehow in the taxes it's clear that you have to pay $17,000. That's just information. You don't actually have, you think you don't have $17,000. It's easy to get in there and think you start worrying about this and trying to figure it out, right? But usually how it exists for me is like, oh, here's information and here's information. And I'm going to wait for the delicious yes, because somehow these informations are going to come together. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what it is. So I'm just listening. So there's a bit of information that says your $17,000 is owing on taxes. And there's a bit of information that says my bank account looks like $5,000. That's some information. And we're just waiting to find out what actually happens here. That's life doing it. That's I agree, like I experience that all the time where I can actually get kind of like, I used to, not anymore, it's been years and years now, but I remember some very, very stressful things when I first immigrated to the United States. My family is all American, so I can live in both places, but there's some paperwork that needs to get done. And I didn't have a mind that can do paperwork. So I would get really, oh my God, like, how do I do this? What's going to happen? And I don't really know where to go to find how to do this system. And I could get really worked up, this was many, many years ago, about it. Nevertheless, it completely solved itself at every time, like every time. And it was totally easy and totally effortless, you know. But I could actually be like, I'm missing a skill set, or I'm like, you know, like I don't have the extra $12,000 for the taxes, or you know, you can kind of get in there, and it's completely optional, ironically, because it turns out, you know, like you're not doing your life. Turns out you're just kind of life, living itself, like our breath.
I had an experience the other day that was sort of speaks to this, where I had a very intense, challenging client that was wanting me to be very creative and come up with this really complex offer on a piece of property. And it was totally going to involve me to have a whole skill set that I didn't feel like I had. You know, I didn't have a calculator, I didn't have the tools, I didn't have anything. I was sitting in a place where I had nothing to work with, and I had to do it. And I thought, well, part of me in the beginning was feeling all tense about that, like, how am I going to do this? I don't know how to do this. How am I going to do this? And I consciously had to just talk myself down into awareness, because I knew it had to be done. And I had to just relax. And then what happened was, as I relaxed, there were something said, you know, well, go find an amortization schedule. And look at that on the computer. Go and try, use what you got to work with, but just pull that up. And so I pulled that up, and I pulled up this other thing, And I didn't, in the beginning it was really stressful until I relaxed enough and said, well, it just has to be figured out, that's all. And the first time around, it took a lot of efforting. And I found myself getting really dizzy and confused. And I said, well, that's not working, so stop that. So this is my dialogue with myself. The magic is in, like you say, letting go of the struggle. And then as I found myself relaxing, there was like...
Which is, just to articulate that piece, because it's really important, because exactly what you were saying, the identity is in the thoughts, right? So when we're struggling, it's because we're identified with this idea that we have to solve it, right? So just as you were saying, both of you were saying the same thing, but I think it's beautiful to just separate, like just to really pause at that, because that's exactly what's going on. It's an identity that we have to solve this. It's my responsibility to push through or figure it out or come up with something. And that's the identity. And just what you're saying, when you relax out of it, just what you were saying, just when you relax out of the identity, it's the identity that's actually got you in the grip. And it's the relaxing out of it. So carry on. It was lovely.
Well, that's that it was really kind of miraculous in a way, because I didn't really have any choice. I guess I could have thrown my hands up and freaked out and run out the door or something, but can't do this. But I didn't, because that's, I somehow was able to just relax enough that the information was able to enter in, and then I was able to just respond moment to moment as the information, as I would relax. A thought or something would happen which would kind of guide me to a step. It was just very much a step by step. And I didn't know what the steps were. But as I relaxed, the steps happened very naturally. And it was really a fascinating process. I couldn't believe in the end, when I finally got there, how easy it was. And it was my mind that was making it so hard. It was the tension that was making it hard. And the attachment to being right or being good enough or helpful and being smart enough or being able to figure it out, you know. But once I relaxed out of all that, solutions kind of just showed up. Pieces finally it fit together, and then it was like there was the answer right there, and it was, oh, that wasn't. I can't believe it.
Wasn't really the story.
Like, there it is.
Beautiful.
And it was so beautiful.
Exactly.
You know,
And everything.
Like a miracle, because I don't know how to do what I did.
But it turns out we don't know how to do anything.
Wow.
At all. We're just waiting for the information to come up. Yeah.
I just received a piece as all of this was going on, that a part of if we could call it the mechanics of awareness as we drift into or allow ourselves to become what we are, as we allow the rest to fall away. As we go into that, part of being aware is that our own resistance is revealed to us. And as our resistance is revealed to us and we continue to surrender to that, that's where the alchemy happens. That's where the true liberation is. And then we're back in spaciousness where everything is possible. But it's part of the function of the awareness itself that the resistance comes up, or maybe even just is allowed to be, and we keep getting bigger than that, and then everything's underneath that. It's awesome.
We're already bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
Resistance is conditioned inside of us. It's a conditioned movement.
Mm-hmm.
And when we allow resistance to be resistance, we can sometimes get around resistance. We can sometimes welcome. So it's basically the sense of alchemy where we welcome resistance. So I agree with what you're saying, and I would add, we don't have to get bigger than anything. We're bigger. We are.
We are.
You know,
we are.
Eternity is not trying to get big. Infinity is not trying to get big. We're it. We're it. And resistance arises. And even resistance is welcome. In the same way that peace is welcome. And in the same way that anything that shows up inside of us is welcome. And it's awareness that can allow us to help welcome it. Because there's habitual, unconscious repression. And if we repress something, it actually, the mind thinks if we repress something, it makes it quieter or smaller. But the reality is, when we know this, the reality, the direct experience, when something gets repressed, it's like the elephant in the room, right? There's an elephant in the room, but don't look at it. It's like the only thing we're ever looking at is the freaking elephant. As soon as we repress it, right? As soon as we put it away, we can't even see the rest of the room because we're just like, what's that elephant doing? There's an elephant here, right? So the act of repression is actually growing whatever's moving inside of us. But when we're aware of what shows up, so whatever it is, in this example with Barry, let's say it was, stress. It was stress, and she was aware. Beautiful articulation of all the things she was aware of. I need to do it right. There's a perfectionist. It's my responsibility. All these pieces she's aware of, but instead of repressing them or needing to go somewhere else, we can just be aware of them and welcome them. And in so doing, they quickly just sort of disperse. They have their life and they move on. And there's a relaxation that can occur, sort of. I'm kind of badly tying the two together because it's not as related necessarily. But awareness is beautiful. resistance exists, resistance is welcome, and resistance is a part of everything that's moving together. So doesn't have to be a story that, in order for this, what you're saying, like I'm looking, what you would describe as I'm looking for those pieces, how does it all come together? In looking, it included strife, and included stress, and it included perfectionism, and it's all included. Because we can easily misunderstand and think, we put this kind of rinse on thing that goes like, I'm feeling a grip, I'm feeling stressed, how do I get over to like peace? Or how can I be still? Where's the flow? And really, it's like your freedom is right here, right now. You don't have to go somewhere to get it. But we need to welcome what's here. Because this act of pushing something down or suppressing it or going somewhere else or something like that, that's the effort. And it's the very effort that's taking us out of what we're naturally here, what is here. Showing up already. Did I just make it more confusing?
I feel personally that the term welcoming sometimes can be just a little bit of a challenge for people.
Is it a challenge for you in this moment? Because I'm actually completely uninterested in other people's stories in another moment. Just right here in this moment, is it a challenge for you?
In answer to your question, I would find the word inclusion, or to include. I would find that actually more inclusive than welcoming, because for me there's an aspect to welcome that also means warmth, and sometimes when we're at that point of including something, the reality of the divine creation, like something that we're resisting, it's just a semantical thing.
Except it's great for me to hear what you're saying, because I do mean include warmth.
No, I get that.
Warmth is really an essential part of it, because that's the
right.
That is the inclusivity, or that is what I'm calling welcome. But
right.
The warmth is required. The warmth is the love. The love is the most effortless place. So warmth to resistance, yes. A warmth to suffering, yes. A warmth to irate rage at our neighbors, yes. But not an indulgence.
Right.
There's a difference between acknowledging and expressing. There's a difference. So acknowledging or including something doesn't always mean indulging it. Or sometimes it's heard as an expressing it. It can be part of it. It can be part of it, but you may have noticed that when you're feeling some irate rage, if you start to express it, you isolate yourself incredibly quickly. It doesn't create a lot of harmony. Yeah. It's not always a safe space. The world isn't always a safe space to just express ourselves. But it is always essential that we acknowledge ourselves, that we welcome, that we include with warmth ourselves. So it's the equivalent of a screaming, crying baby out the front door, and we're all having this meeting here. It's really not okay that this screaming person come in and take over the whole space. That would be expression. But it's absolutely welcome for us to open the door, and if that screaming child is here, I can motion for it to come here, and it can sit on my lap, and I can comfort, like I can acknowledge her, I can comfort her, I can hold her. But she doesn't get to rule the moment. Does that make sense? So what I call welcoming is different than indulgence or even expression, because you can get yourself into some fairly chaotic and tight spots with indulgence and expression. But at the same time, it may include, when this meeting is over, I'll have a tantrum with you. Expression often needs to be part of the healing process, for sure. But it's something best done privately, maybe with a journal and a few pillows or whatever, that expression is sometimes a really valid part of a healing movement, of alchemy, of getting it out or healing it or turning it back into more neutral space. But it's not like in that moment that we're aware of something and we accept something. The acceptance includes a warmth, includes a welcome. We're so in the habit of not welcoming every part of ourselves or including it. We're so in the habit of this is okay and this is not okay. You know, I'm allowed to be a really good neighbor, but I'm not really allowed to be an asshole. But I'm an asshole sometimes. And sometimes I'm an angel. Like, we're all of it, you know? And we're often so actively unwelcoming to aspects of ourselves that it's creating, that's effort. That's a lot of effort. When the movement arises inside of you that you're judging or labeling asshole, is just a movement inside of you that can be included. That can be included with one. Yeah. That's freedom. I'm talking about freedom. Freedom is being here exactly as you are. To be free. It's not freedom if it's inclusive or it's excluding these things. Freedom is the kit and caboodle. And when we know that that's really what we're here for, what's available to us, in every moment it can help us to do that. Is there confusion about that? Is there a yeah, but?
Well, I was just wondering if you do have a habit of repressing emotions or feelings or whatever, how do you know? I mean, if it's repressed, how do you know it's in there? I mean,
you can notice the effort. You can notice the act of repressing. So you may not notice the actual emotion, but it actually is quite easy to notice the repression. You can feel it. Can you feel it in this moment? In your body, places that you've got repressed, stored stuff. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
So that's that awareness. When we're here in this moment, showing up in this moment, we can notice that repression.
So it's awareness, it's noticing.
And awareness is effortless. The mind will tell you it's not. The story will immediately get right in on the other side of that. It's some work. Awareness is effortless, and it can be directed anywhere. And we can be aware of our impulse to repress and repression. And in that moment, we, what I would say, welcome, but we include repression lovingly. Here it is. Quite quickly, it stops being repression. It's contorted energy. The love that you're meeting it with is effortless energy, and it will unwind itself.
So when it's met with acceptance, it just
opens up. Yeah. If you had a screaming 2-year-old saying, "There's a boogeyman under the bed. There's a boogeyman under the bed. There's a boogeyman under the bed," and you said, "There's no boogeyman. It isn't true. Go back to bed." How helpful is that for the 2-year-old, right? That's just going to create repression. It's still there. It's still very alive. But if you say, there's no boogeyman, you're not actively engaged in looking for, so you're not indulging the boogeyman story, that you're going to say, "Come here. Come into my bed. Tell me what's scary. Let me have a hug." Acceptance, warmth, welcome, love. Very quickly. And then he said, "Well, really, can I just sleep with you tonight? I just want to be here." It's dissolved, right? Like we can see that. So it's our lovingness, our loving ourselves that's really, that it's all these movements that arise with us that we meet with love that actually quite quickly resolves them, even repression. Yeah. And our habit is to separate, it's like, I want to be peace, so there's no room for rage, Or I want to be this, so there's no room for jealousy, or there's no room for, But we can actually nurture and love. And quantumly, that loving, when we touch something, we introduce a more effortless rhythm to a more convoluted pattern that will naturally move to the most effortless place. So at the quantum level, anything you touch, love is, I talk about this all the time in my teaching, it's on my website, but love is the strongest force in the universe. There is absolutely nothing that love can't dissolve. It's so strange, it's so contradictory to the mind, but it actually is. It's the strongest force in the universe. You find yourself in a massive temper rage as soon as you bring love to it. That's why the beautiful Ho'oponopono, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you, is so powerful because it is love.
Yeah.
And immediately, quantumly, it does that. I keep hearing that you had the water doctor, the
Dr. Emoto.
Emoto came here. And I don't know if you guys know his work. Does anyone here get to see him or know his work? But so basically, it's so beautiful because he'll show you the cell that's convoluted, right? I hate you, or like filthy Ganges water that's like gross. But when it's been given love, when it's been prayed on and loved, what the cell actually looks like, it actually changes the cell. Right? We're introducing a more effortless path, which is love, to something convoluted. It literally changes its makeup. It reforms itself. That's what love does. So it's everything is energy. This is much, much more dense energy than the words I'm talking. But the words I'm talking are an energy. They're a lighter energy than this energy. So this is going to need a lot more love to get more effortless than this light one. But regardless, moving into that most effortless rhythm is always what transforms. It's the strongest force in the universe because it's the first form of the universe. It's the big old default here. I love prayer. Such a beautiful thing. It's why gratitude is so effective. Things like this, the Ho'oponopono and gratitude and loving, is beautiful. And it's inclusive of our shadow self. The full welcome package, the full love embrace, as we would fully embrace stillness or peace or bliss. It's not a mistake. God paints in every color, the dark shades as well as the light shades. We can rinse things, conditioning can rinse things that says these are better. Some of them are better with our neighbors. Some of them are better on the nonprofit board that you're working with. But everything here is what I would say welcome. Everything is included within this. And when something has effort with it, we love it. And it will find its way back to effortlessness. So we're blessing something effective. Rinsing it in love. Form takes a little more blessings to change the actual cell material. But it's powerful. Every one of us is fully accessible to the most powerful force of the universe in every moment, which is love. It's totally available. And what we often do is we use the sensations of love to distract us away from something that's painful. We use it as a kind of an out, but when we actually attend it with an intention towards helping heal, that's it. Boof. That's that's the most powerful any of us are. We all have that available to us in every moment. But it's good to stay out of other people's business and just bring that love to ourselves, to whatever's showing up inside of us, what I call inside the body, your emotions and sensations. It can be really sometimes annoying if somebody in front of you is in a fit of rage and you're like, I love you. They might get a punch in the nose. Stay out of other people's business. Just bring it into ourselves. There's only one of us here, so do it here, and it's good for over there too. I was told the story, Wendy and I were driving, and Nikki was telling us a story that this woman who runs Papiloni Farms on the other side of the island, near Kona, was telling us some Ho'oponopono stories. And she was talking about the man who runs the
MD psychiatric hospital in Oahu or something like that.
Yeah, with criminally insane. And he never actually visited any of them. He just did the work on himself. So he'd read their profiles, and instead of actually directly, he just found those places in himself that those traits existed, and he did the I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. You know, he blessed it, he prayed it, he loved, he touched it in love, and he healed them. Because there's one of us here. Mm-hmm. Now, quantumly, the reality is, because I have to say this because it's just who I am, that, you know, I don't know if anybody's a massage practitioner or knows this experience, but sometimes a massage practitioner can work on somebody, right, and they unwind the knots and all that kind of good stuff. Or an energy healer, clear off the energy, la la la. And the person is great and aligned. And they get off the table, and about 2.5 minutes later when they're putting on the shoes, the patterns are all back. So they were neutralized here on the table, but they came back because the person has a karmic belief set of belief structures that just repositioned all that back into themselves. Because we have free will that exists with us. Or 3 days later, it's all back because it's karmically there. So I feel like I need to voice quantumly the reality of that. Some of those people may have been liberated, and some of them may have had much, much deeper quantum patterns or karmic patterns that couldn't be adjusted. You know, they just pick them back up again. They just hold on to them. So we can't go affecting everybody all the time, constantly, but we can affect ourselves. We can heal ourselves. We can bring that effortless touch to the places where there's effort. So I don't know what the time is, because I can go on all night, don't you? It's about 8:30. It's about 8:30.
How much time flew?
Time flew. That's a nice thing to say. I would feel sad if you said, it's only 8:30. I'd be like, I've been here forever. It would speak of effort. Like you're speaking of effortlessness, and that makes me happy. Thank you for this lovely chat together.
Thank you for your energy.
Yeah,
That's real sweet.
Yeah. Yours too. Thank you for yours.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's really lovely to be here tonight with you. Thank you very much for the space. Very lovely space that we've juiced up again.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
It's a juicy space.
It is a juicy space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Keeps getting juicier.
Yeah.